that the campus environment is part of their home. It's not just a place they go to work and part of their ecosystem. So as you can see, not only has Apple been modernizing their campuses, so have many other institutions, by the way, they're also starting to apply to sell their excess energy back to the grid. Next, builders. Particularly in California, Lennar is the second largest home builder in the United States, and a vast majority of the new communities that they're building are coming with solar and smart homes embedded. So people that move into these homes are not signing up with the utility in any big way. So they are signing up with somebody, though. So who's providing the energy services to these companies? Well, it's the solar cities. The companies that have been, which is frankly owned by Tesla and Elon Musk. By the way, it was kind of run by Tesla even before, or Musk even before, because the CEO of that company, Solar City, was Elon's cousin, or is Elon's cousin. So I'm sure they had a lot of dinner conversations about what they were going to do to marry the battery with the solar roofs. But that's a game changer when builders start doing it. I'm showing a residential example here, but we're seeing a ton of examples where it's actually industrial as well. Who else? This is interesting. Communities. Have many of you heard the impact of communities happening around the world these days and how important communities are becoming? Communities are driven by consumers, and consumers are more empowered today with the digital era than they ever have been before. So what one community, in this community, Mongoose Energy happens to be based in the UK, they decided that there was so much complexity around these renewable community projects, they would create a consultancy owned by the community to help community members build renewable and storage solutions. And so they would come up with the financing, they would do the site inspections, they would look at the what type of energy mix you need to use, they would look at community and energy involvement, do we need demand response? And so these communities then turned around and said, wait, I'm not just going to consult, I'm going to manage these. So they're becoming distributed energy resource managers. Again, trying to disintermediate the utility industry. This is another community. I don't know if you've heard about Sonnen community, but Sonnen is a battery technology in Germany. Germany has one of the highest penetrations of residential batteries in the world because they were one of the first to have the big subsidies on the home solar panels to try and make up for the loss of the nuclear generation that they dismantled. But what happened was a lot of the citizens had more juice in their battery than they were consuming. And some others that maybe were having a cloudy day and having a birthday party for their daughter or son and having everybody over didn't have enough. So what they created was the Sonnen community. You sign up, you pay a monthly subscription to be a member, and it allows you with a mobile app, Uber-like, to bid your excess energy onto the market and for somebody else to buy it from you. What's ironic is in one short year, they had over close to 15 million kilowatts put on the system, and more than half of that was purchased. And so we're seeing this very natural kind of form of people that share a common view. I have solar, I have a battery, I don't want to overbuild my capacity, or I did overbuild my capacity and I want to sell it. So that's another form of community that we're starting to see. So what do you do to respond if you're a utility? You can't stop technology. It will march forward. You can't stop corporations from adopting it. You can't stop campuses and citizens from wanting to have a different experience at their work. You can't stop communities from forming. So what do? You fight back. You say, wait a minute, I understand electricity and electrons better than you do Mongoose Power. Okay, or better than you do Sonnen Community. I've been in the business for over 100 years, and I'm reliable and dependable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I can offer that rooftop solar to you. I'm going to give you a mobile app so you can measure the production and consumption of your household. I'm going to engage you every day in the energy equation, and I'm going to educate you. I'm going to offer up batteries. And I can do it on a 20-year contract. I can be the asset owner, and you will rent the equipment from me. And if it fails, I'll fix it. Very smart. And recently, when I was at the European Utility Week conference, I went over to see our friends at E.ON and said, anything new? And they said, yeah, as a matter of fact, Perry, there is. We have something called solar cloud. I said, what's that? And the solar cloud is if you put solar on your house and you put a battery on your house and you happen to have an electric vehicle and the electric vehicle's charging, but you drive that electric vehicle away from your house and go park it somewhere, but want to charge up, you're going to be paying for electricity to charge up with a pedestal. But if you pull into one of our charging pedestals, an E.ON charging station, we will let you use, theoretically, the power produced in your house to charge your car at no cost. So they're creating the virtual ability for your residential power and battery to follow you. They even went so far as to say, if you have a second property that you like to go to on the weekends, and many Germans do, many in Sweden do, particularly in the summer, we'll let the energy produced on your house follow you to that property. You do not have to put solar on top of it. So what's that create? That creates a real stickiness with the end customer. If you've committed to the solar and you've committed to the battery, you've also now maybe are going to commit to the utility because the only one providing this today. So one-stop shop for services. The other one I want to talk about is Eneco, the Dutch-based utility I've mentioned before. They went and built a smart home platform. It's actually a gateway. It's much more than a thermostat. And they are looking to put home security. They created smart charging. They will actually pay you to let you charge your car when they want to charge it. They don't pay a lot, but the electricity charging your car is free, and you might get 11 pounds for that day because they needed to get the energy off the grid because the renewables were running too hot. So a very innovative company, and they are the ones that created Newtonian Shift. They've taken it out and played that game with us on many occasions with many utilities. And as I said before, their goal is to be an energy service provider, and they're well down the track. So what do we call this transformation? We had to give it a name at Capgemini. We call it U2ES, Utility to Energy Services. It's our banner, our brand. And we see it transforming your enterprise from a commodity business to an energy services business. We categorize it into 3 main buckets: your customer experience, operational processes, and business models. And I think you're already working on many of these. We know digital plants, as I said, are quite a bit more effective to operate than non-digital plants. Customer experience, if you know your customers digitally, you do a much better job in the call center. In fact, probably first call resolution for more often. So, with that, I'm coming to the end of my presentation. This is my first time in the Philippines. It's been very welcoming. People are extremely friendly, and I've enjoyed myself very much. I had a fantastic meeting with some of your leadership, including Gavin yesterday. I love the vision I heard. So, let's make you the next big story. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Perry Stoneman, for your insightful presentation on disruption and transformation. For any questions about Perry's presentation, please message MTech at Workplace or text your questions to 0920-919-4068. Your questions will be addressed later at the morning panel session. Thank you. Let us continue our journey to tomorrow. We would like to welcome to the stage the Executive Partner for Gartner Executive Programs with his presentation on accelerators to use in scaling your digital transformation, Mr. Paul Martin.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me at the back? Can you hear me at the left? And you guys? All right, all good. Thank you very much for welcoming me this morning. I hope you've all had a very entertaining and informative sessions this morning. I'm going to continue with the whole golden thread, the story of digital. And what I want to specifically address this morning is from an employee point of view, from a stakeholder point of view, how to start with digital and then how to scale digital. Every one of us can start doing something small, but then when you've got to take it bigger and broader outside your environment, that's when you start to rub up against some of those friction points, or you simply just get stuck. Now, how many of you know Gartner? None, some? Okay, how many of you know the hype cycle? Yeah? So this is Gartner's famous hype cycle. And what it does is it describes the evolution that technologies go through. And if we think about digital today, we are at the peak of inflated expectations. Your management, your board, your children at home expect you to be at the peak of knowledge when it comes to digital. In fact, your children at home are probably at the peak while you're at the trough. Great, I got a laugh, I can go now. But from a business point of view, from an employee enabling point of view, we've been in digital for about 4 years, 5 years, and some of you are starting now to feel like you're going through the trough. It's like being at the top of a roller coaster and looking down and thinking, oh my goodness, am I going to get through that, or am I going to get stuck at the bottom? So today, for the next 20 minutes or so, I want to share our experiences of how to push through that trough, how to successfully navigate through it, so that you go down it more with your hands up rather than with your eyes closed. Does that make sense? Right. So let's have a little bit of background about the industry. Meralco, sponsoring our event today, a big conglomerate, in an industry area where technology and digital have been very, very disruptive. In 2005, let's say 10 years ago, who would have thought that you would want to buy clothes online? Everyone wants to go to the store, try a few clothes on, let your friends see how it looks, maybe take a few selfies and send them around, and then decide which one to buy. Or if you're like most of us, then you go online and buy it cheaper. But nowadays, people are very, very willing to buy online without even touching, smelling, feeling what they're buying. Do you know who is the largest online clothes retailer today? It begins with A, Amazon. If you take the top 5 retail clothing brands in the US and you add up all of their revenues, Amazon beats them all. Amazon now controls more than 20% of the clothing market in the US. 20%, 1 in 5. So you have a table here, one person at least at each table is purely using online. Who's using Deliveroo to get meals delivered? Or shopping apps for your basic groceries? We all now are living in a world where we can sit at home and shop or get it delivered. Beyond the old-fashioned, I need to order some flowers quickly for my mother-in-law because I forgot. This is now playing into convenience. This is now playing into, I'm leaving the office, I'm going to be home in about half an hour. You know what, I really fancy a chicken fettuccine. Let me order it online so that by the time I get home, it's always almost arriving as well. So many of the traditional industries where we used to go and consume or go and collect are now available to us at home, at the workplace. So we're all very excited about apps that do that. And then we come to work, where we have old laptops, or old websites, or old procurement processes, or old authoritarian approval processes. Why is it that we trust our own money to an app, and yet at work, we have 5 layers of 15 people to order some tissue paper? Should I leave now, boss? Now you can see the different industries here, from software to computers. These were the early movers. These guys, the worst is over. We know that those business models are done. We know about SaaS. We know about loading apps on our phone and in-app purchases. 2 to 3 years away, depending on where you are, we could be looking at over-the-counter drugs, groceries, pets. Buying a pet online, a little bit of a challenge. Personal care. But it's this middle area that's a big challenge. Things like sporting goods and jewelry. Would you ever think you would buy a basketball, a soccer ball, a cricket bat, a tennis racket online without trying it? You can. If you think about mixed reality and virtual reality, you can try those elements and buy them online without leaving the comfort of your home. So these categories are in the danger zone. They have to innovate or die. And it's not just a case of, okay, we will sell our tennis rackets online. It's a case of optimizing that supply chain. Because the leaders in these categories, they do 2 things really well. They disrupt to find new business models, and they will exploit and attack your weaknesses. Let's think about that from a demand point of view. Amazon creates demand where no demand exists. 10 years ago, who didn't have an iPhone? And yet today, we don't think we can live without it. In the supply chain area, digitally optimized supply chains are now working in our favor to make sure products get to where they need to be at the right quantity at the right time. Similarly, when it comes to marketing, companies that are using social media, companies that are using Instagram, Facebook, are those companies that are leveraging platforms to get the reach out to their buyers, but also to their employees. Many, many companies now are running internal Facebook pages for their employees. One for finance, one for HR, and special interest groups. Those of you that are bonded by basketball, bonded by Cristiano Ronaldo, you would have a work-curated Facebook page for those special interest groups where you're free to share, free to learn. And from a corporation point of view, you're also collecting a lot of information about what motivate your employees. And when it comes to distribution, we've seen the rise of drones. We've seen the rise in China of home delivery services where people will rent a bike for 20 minutes to collect a food or a package and cycle it to somebody's house, and they make money, and everyone is making money. So it doesn't always have to be large items. It can be small items, but on a very large scale. And the predictions are that when we say 2 to 3 years away, by the time we get there, more and more businesses won't even start with bricks and mortar or with traditional methods. They'll simply go digital from day one. So how do you think about these interconnected platforms? Well, a lot of bigger players like Facebook think about how many partners they have interconnected into their system. If you think in the workplace, how many people do you actually know? 6, 7? And then how many people do you know of? But if you go online, you can turn those know of people into know, because they share a lot more online than they probably do with you. Your meek and mild HR manager may be a party lion outside of the office. Your bookkeeper, your stockkeeper is probably sharing more what they like about Manchester United online than they are with you in person. People have become very unafraid of interconnected systems. And you as companies, you as organizations and as employees, how would you measure your effectiveness in being interconnected? Is it the number of people you're connected to, or conversion rates, or is it engagement? In the old days, let's say 5 years ago, engagement was a very hard thing to measure. But how many of us now get excited about 6 likes, or 10 shares, or 20 comments on something that we post? We feel good about that, right? And people who don't, we kind of scrub them off the list. So we're all interconnected, and we all like that validation of being interconnected, and we all have our own personal measures and gamifications that create that value for us in being interconnected. And again, if you look at the Amazon example, if you look at GE, what it does for its employees, GE managers now don't mandate what training employees have to go through. The employee is choosing. The employee is choosing. I need to get a little bit more educated on gas turbine engines. I need to know a bit more about fluid dynamics. I need to brush up my presentation skills. They can then search internally online for who are the best people at doing that because they've been rated. What's the best training available in bite-sized chunks? Which books to read, which webinars to watch, all curated by citizens, all recommended from fellow workers, all prepared to share their knowledge and ratings and insights into that. So interconnection doesn't just mean big behemoths interconnected. We are all interconnected through those social programs and platforms. And so when it comes to technology in business, if we think from an employee point of view, what kind of company do we work in? If we think about a partner, what kind of partner am I working with? And Gartner has segmented this into 3 areas. One is called the IT partner, and many of you would classify yourselves as partners of IT or IT partners. And we then talk about digital builders. And we talk about digital pioneers. So let's go into a bit more detail about those. The IT partner is not yet able to create value at scale. They're very transactional. They're working on core IT systems. They're doing it very well. They're pricing for performance, but they're talking a lot about digital. They're not actually doing it. The digital builder is doing it. They're creating ecosystems, they're linking partners together, and they're getting some benefits, but at a small scale. And then the digital pioneers, they're acting like internal entrepreneurs. They're working to create new revenue streams, new business models, reducing costs. Because digital value at scale is all about transforming and cost optimizing and efficiency optimizing and operational optimizing at the same time. And why is digital in here? Digital is here because it allows you very deep business outcome metrics. Gone are the days where you tried to do something and you had a gut feel that it was working. Digital allows you to set a target. I need an employee happiness score of 4.3 out of 5. I need an Uber score of 4.8 to continue doing what I'm doing. If I'm an internal expert on power generation, I'm rated by my peers at 4.6. Digital allows you to collect that information on a real-time basis and to be able to provide those scores. And as I said, personal scores are becoming much more important in the workplace as a knowledge sharing and learning organization. So the key thing about digital value at scale is learning. A lot of it is talent and culture. Do you have a culture that promotes sharing, learning, and experimentation? Some of you yes, some of you no, and some of you kind of in the middle. It's not easy to do. That's why creating the value at scale is harder, but it's not impossible to do. And we'll talk in a little bit about 3 accelerators we can use to get that digital value at scale moving faster. So there's 3 ways we talk about scaling. We can scale sorry. We can scale across, and we can scale out. And this is your digital version of YMCA. All right, bad joke. All right, so digitally scaling up, creating efficiencies in the workplace. If you, sir, know something that's important to the company, why don't I know it? Whether I'm your direct report, your peer, or your manager. If you, ma'am, have heard one of our customers of our products say, this product's really good, or this product sucks, why doesn't everybody in the company know about that? So scaling up means creating those vertical efficiencies of information flows, optimizing the processes so that no one person is dependent on another and information doesn't get stuck. And then we talk about scaling across. When something works in finance, can we reapply that to supply chain? When something works with one of our small distributors, can we apply that with our larger distributors? When something worked in a think tank of 3 people, can we work that for 30 people? The ability to take small bigs and turn it into a big small is a key attribute of organizations that are able to scale across. And again, it's around the talent and the culture that you have in your organization. And the last one, scaling out. Being able to enroll your suppliers, your business partners, being able to cut across boundaries, being able to leverage knowledge, and being able to freely share knowledge in a way that's useful to both, an exchange of value for both organizations. A good way of this is Facebook. Facebook marketing is very... Was that a reaction to Facebook, or? We're okay? No injuries? All right. Facebook marketing. And let's be clear, Facebook marketing is a money revenue generating tool for Facebook, but it shares a lot of information with you. People who looked at your product, people who bought your product, people who looked at but didn't buy your product, they are scaling. And here in Philippines, we have examples now where Facebook Messenger is working with Globe and PLDT in conversational interfaces. Whoever thought Facebook and PLDT and Globe would be business partners? But it's happening. Now, if we think about then the skills that are needed to do that, let's again go back a few years. What were those key skills that we needed in 2015? We were looking for CRM skills. We were looking for cloud skills. We were looking for project management and business analysis skills. And the market met the demand. There was enough people out there to fill those gaps. Now, do you know the number one technology skill that people are looking for? The ultra sexy security. Security and cybersecurity is the number one skill that is in great shortage. Do you want to know how we're going to crack it? We're not. The demand is outstripping supply. Gartner's analysis in this area shows that there's only one way for organizations to respond when the demand for a certain role is going to outstrip the supply. And that is essentially to create it. Use your organization as a learning organization with tools such as artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence, about 10% of organizations globally are now using artificial intelligence in their recruitment and training and employee development processes. Think about that. When your employees are training a machine, more like the little robot that was here, the cutie, that means you're not then dependent on location, availability. You can scale that knowledge very, very quickly. And artificial intelligence machines can learn. So they will learn, on average, much, much better than humans. But that's not to say that they replace humans. We like to think of it about augmenting humans, taking the best of what human capital can bring and taking the best of what artificial intelligence can bring and combining those two and augmenting them from each other. Now, sure, there's a big fear that artificial intelligence is going to disrupt the jobs market. And clearly, in a couple of years, by 2020, we will see AI eliminating about 1.8 million jobs worldwide. But at the same time, it's going to create about 2.3 million jobs. That's a net positive of about 500,000 jobs. And the good thing about it is, artificial intelligence is not going to build walls to Mexico. You still need people for that. So we're going to create about 500,000 jobs through the use of artificial intelligence. People need to be reskilled. People need to be retooled. And what's the best way to help people get reskilled and retooled? Is to use that artificial intelligence. It's a virtuous circle of benefit. Now, in our office in Gardner, we have a little anecdote that says artificial intelligence is no replacement for natural stupidity. But what we really mean there is that in order to improve artificial intelligence, we need the creativity of humans. We need that lateral thinking ability. We need that reasoning that says, okay, I know that that's predictable, but I'm going to try something that's unpredictable because I want to generate learnings. And those learnings can only come from the human mind, the curiosity of the human mind, the pragmatism of knowing, well, we've done it this way for the last 10 years. You know what? Let's try a different way. That's where the humans will become much more important. And a year later, in 2021, so within the next 4 to 5 years, augmentation is going to create trillions of dollars of business value. It's going to create billions of hours of productivity, which should all be for the common good, which should benefit society, which should benefit us as individuals and members and citizens of society, and also as corporations. The message here being, you cannot avoid it. It's going to happen. And you're either going to go in full lock, stock, and barrel, eyes open, hands on the wheel, or eyes closed. And if you're closing your eyes, you're going to miss a great opportunity, and you're going to get stuck in that trough at the bottom. But enough around AI for the moment. Let's then talk about the 3 scale accelerators. And they are digital dexterity, network effect technologies, and industrialized digital platforms. Whose mum is very good at baking cakes, pastries? Yeah? Whose mum doesn't need to look at the recipe book anymore? Doesn't need to use the weigh scale? So we think about digital dexterity as, I've done it before, I've learned, I kind of know, and I'll try it. Network effect technology is where you then transfer that knowledge and expand it to somebody else. So if you watch your mom, your aunt, your granny making a cake, you'll generally get to know how to make a cake just by being there and absorbing it. And then by industrialized platforms, we see bread makers coming onto the market where you cut the top off the packet, you put it in, you just pour water, and you press the button. And the first time you try it, the bread is a bit soft or a bit dry. So you know next time you're going to alter the amount of water. And you'll get to the stage where you've industrialized your way of making bread with technology to your taste. That's the analogy I want to leave you with on these. Now, digital dexterity is much more around your organization's cultural agility. Do you have an organization that can respond quickly, that can adapt quickly? Do you have an organization that is sensing and feeling change? As employees, do you believe that HR senses and feels what you think are important attributes of the workplace? Has your workplace changed in the last 5 years, 2 years, to become more digital? Perhaps yes, perhaps no. In many cases, we see that information travels faster and more accurately in WhatsApp groups than we do from corporate communications. Those that are still stuck in those ways of centralized communications and syndicated communications are not exhibiting digital dexterity. Organizations and employee groups that share information and ideas and build upon each other, those are digitally dexterous. We talk about network effect technologies, and we'll get a bit more in that. So if we take those 3 roles, whether you're a chief digital officer, whether you're a CIO, a CTO, or whether you're just an employee with a healthy appetite and curiosity for technology, you'll probably fall into one of these 3 areas. And from an IT partner point of view, remember the sort of the transactional IT provider, the key thing you can do to make your organization digitally dexterous is to make those apps that they use irresistible. Why do people work around the HR vacation scheduling system? Because it sucks. All of their friends on Facebook know that they're going to be late, but your systems don't, because using your system is like going back to the dark ages. All the data points to, all the research points to, having apps that are irresistible to employees will create better engagement. Now, when you move to the next level, the digital builder, you will then start building those digital skills across the organization. And if you think about the true definition of IT, information technology, everyone in a digital business is working on IT. Everyone. Because every process you use is underpinned by technology. And lastly, the digital pioneers, you need to be able to recruit the top talent in the industry to disrupt. Now, it's hard when you're up against the big four, the Googles, the Amazon, the Facebook. But more and more we're seeing construction companies, insurance companies, media companies hiring top talent in digital skills to change the nature of the workplace. Change the workplace, change the employees, change the outputs. The second area we work on is the network effect technologies. And here, what's very important to us is APIs, application programming interfaces. Open up your systems to others to accelerate exponential growth. The digital builder will also look at artificial intelligence to expand those opportunities. So not only is it benefiting your enterprise or your employees, it's benefiting across boundaries with partners. And then secondly, artificial intelligence, thirdly, artificial intelligence, disrupting your industry. Now, Gartner, again, says this: artificial intelligence on its own is great. Artificial intelligence with IoT, Internet of Things, is even better. And with APIs is even better. So if there's one piece you have to take away from today, it's artificial intelligence. That's the key technology skill, the key technology enabler that's going to be crucial for your growth and optimization in the future. And then we have to industrialize that platform. And if you only take one thing away from today, think about Gartner, because Gartner pretty much created the fidget spinner. Seriously, in our nexus of forces model, collaboration is key. Collaboration internally to externally, externally to externally, and internally within the organization as well. Your speed for product delivery, your speed for response, your speed for change is all being monitored and benchmarked and compared. And the more you industrialize that change, the better results you'll get from it long-term and short-term. And the new marketplaces. This allows new entrants into the market. This allows new people to have a look at your processes, your products, your services. If you're working in a closed shell, no one can see what you've got to offer. So if your ambition, if your legacy, if your reach is to grow and optimize and leave something, leave a footprint, you have to be able to create new marketplaces, new places where people can see you and you can grab their attention. So here's like the one slide. If you're going to take a picture of, this is the one. If you think about your technology maturity, are you the technology partner, the technology builder, or the technology pioneer? And what do you have to do in each of those three accelerators? And how do you measure success by the digital KPIs? And as you see, the KPIs move from more internal oriented to being market and product oriented as well. Thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the graphics. I'm very happy to take questions.
Thank you, Mr. Paul Martin, for the insightful presentation on what accelerators to use in scaling our digital transformation. For any questions about Paul's presentation, please message MTech at Workplace or text your questions to 0920-919-4068. Again, for any questions about Paul's presentation, please message MTech at Workplace or text your questions to 0920-919-4068. We will tackle them later in the morning session panel. We will now take a short break and resume the program in 20 minutes. Snacks will be served at your table, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy your snack, especially since the most anticipated keynote will immediately follow after the break. Thank you. Again, we will now take a short break and resume the program in 20 minutes. Snacks will be served at your table, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy your snack, especially since the most anticipated keynote will immediately follow after the break. Again, the most anticipated keynote will immediately follow after the break. Thank you. We hope everyone's enjoying their snacks. In a few minutes, we will be starting the most anticipated keynote as soon as we're finished with the break. Thank you.
Testing. Testing. I'll go to the front. Sound check. Testing, sound check. Sound check, testing. Sound check. Sound check. Testing, 1, 2. Sound check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2.
As you consume your snacks, please remember to send your questions and message MTECH at Workplace or text your questions to 0920-919-4068. All your questions will be answered during the morning panel session shortly before lunch. Thank you. Everyone please settle down. We will begin the next keynote in 3 minutes. Thank you. Hello everyone. The most anticipated keynote speech will begin shortly. Please take your seats and settle down. Thank you. Gentlemen, the moment we've all been waiting for, the event's most anticipated keynote entitled Journey to Tomorrow. Please join me in welcoming to the stage Meralco's Chief Technology Advisor, Mr. Gavin E. Barfield.
Wow, I don't know if that was an accidental standing ovation from Mr. Reyes if he hadn't stick to it. I appreciate it, boss. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to MTECH 2017. Let me start by recapping on the evolution of MTECH. In 2015, we highlighted how globally the energy industry was changing, fueled by this new technology such as solar, battery, and the Internet of Things, cloud computing, and we talked about the digitally enabled customer. We discussed how the likes of Uber and Airbnb were disrupting traditional industries and how even Meralco wasn't immune to those disruptions. The presentation back in 2015 may not have been as flashy as today, but the message was really clear. We needed to engineer a new vision for our company, hence the theme, Visioneering. It was a wake-up call for us all. We had to reinvent Meralco in order to operate in the new digital world. In MTECH 2016, we painted a bold vision of a new Meralco, centered around our 6 Ds of digital. We announced our plans to launch a customer experience engine called CXE, and to digitally enable our grid through ADMS, distribution automation, and smart substations. We shared our ambition to roll out AMI meters and to enable a suite of new products and services. And we demonstrate how we would equip our field crew through new mobility solutions. And we committed to embrace the third IT platform through big data analytics, social, cloud, and mobility, plus highlighted measures to keep Meralco and our customers safe from growing cybersecurity threats. MTECH 2016 set the vision for a new working environment with a refreshed IT toolset to enable better collaboration and productivity, and we committed to venture bravely into new products and services such as solar, battery, smart home, and electric vehicles. Under the banner, Moving Forward Never Stops, we set out the digital transformation of our company, the new Meralco, with technology and innovation at the heart. That was 18 months ago. Through hard work and dedication from everyone in the organization, we have achieved what many has thought was impossible. The plans we set out last year are becoming a reality. Meralco is changing. We are pivoting as we embrace the new digital world. Let me take you on a journey to show you just how far we've come and the work we still need to do. Let me take you on a journey to tomorrow. I've borrowed this. Are we all ready? Good. But before we go into the future, let's back a few years and remind ourselves how things used to be. We've got this cool app.
Come on, let's go!
You know what? One day, I will be president and CEO of this place.
Yeah, right. Come on, Oscar. Mrs. Reyes said we need to be back by 8 p.m.
Oops, I think I've gone back a bit too far. Let me try that again. I'll sure I'll get the right year this time. Sorry about that. Just a bug in the system. There we go.
Hey, who are you?
Don't worry, Al. You'll know me in a few years' time. Tell me, how does it work around here?
Well, I'm here in one of our newly renovated business centers. We have this all over our franchise area. My latest assignment is heading customer-related services and corporate communications in Meralco. I have my work cut out for me given all the changes that will soon take place in the power industry. I heard there is a new CMS V10 coming soon. Everyone is excited, but I think today they still use the green screens and old interfaces. Bottom line, we need to be more focused and attuned to our customers and their wants and needs. A kinder, softer, and more responsive Meralco is how our customers will see us. Ang liwanag talaga ng bukas. Anyway, back to our business centers. We have about 4.86 million customers. And that number is growing fast, which means additional pressure on our operations.
That's right, Boss Al. In the business center, It hurts to see our customers having to wait in long queues just to pay for their bills. However, this is the normal scenario here, especially after holidays and during paydays or Mondays. Not just that, we are getting more and more service applications every day because of the continuous developments in our area, which is of course a happy problem for us. But there are too many requirements and we need to navigate at least 15 screens just to process the application. That alone takes around 30 minutes of our time. Unfortunately, our customers need to come back at least 2 or 3 more times to complete their requirements. So on average, it takes 22 days before their service gets energized. Maybe one day there will be a better way.
Ah, so that was how our business centers were. I wonder what's happening back at MOC.
Excuse me, are you lost? This is a restricted area. Ah, you must be part of the school tour.
Yes, that's all right.
I guess you want to see our control center, right?
Sure.
We manage the subtransmission and distribution grid from this room. This wall, which we call minute board, contains the basic information on our circuits, and we manually keep track of the status. We have a mainframe application called OTMS to manage outage notifications and WOMS for routine maintenance, installation, or construction jobs. If there is an outage, the customer will call the call center. Sometimes, they have trouble getting through on busy days. There can be millions of calls during a major typhoon. Customers keep asking us when the crew will arrive and when they will be reconnected. But to be honest, it is difficult to tell. We rely on Microsoft Excel and other tools to help prioritize jobs. During a major outage, we coordinate closely with the call center to inform them the status of its circuit. We talk on the phone and they update a well-covered in POST-it notes. Then, they can quickly see what parts of our network are out and advise customers when they call. Maybe one day, there will be a better way.
Ah, well, I can't leave 2010 without checking in on my beloved CIT team, can I?
We manage our IT operations from this room. This is our trusty mainframe, which runs most of the applications for business. We had mainframe here in Meralco since 1960s, when I was just a baby. The business is posing for many modifications to cover the new ARCUA rules in different products they wish to launch. We have plans to decommission the mainframe, but I expect that will take several years. We use Lotus Notes for our email, calendar, memos, and small applications. Our users love it. We have allocated a massive 300 MB of disk space per person. We send a lot of emails, but still prepare face-to-face communication. This means we spend a fair amount of time traveling to meetings. Maybe one day there will be a better way.
Gosh, was that only a few years ago? Anyway, I don't have time for this. I better get back to MTech 2017 and see how that keynote is going. Put that in the app here.
Hey Gavin, we are super busy implementing our new CXE project. It's really cutting-edge technology running on the cloud and is the biggest implementation of its kind in the region. Meralco isn't just following, we are leading the way. With this new system, I'm sure we will set a new benchmark for customer service in the Philippines. We are not yet finished with the development, but release 1 and 2 is already dramatically changing the customer experience. Isn't that right, Maita?
Absolutely, Sir V-Boy. With CXE, we can now process service application in just 5 minutes, and all on a single screen. Our average time to energize a new service is 13 days compared to 22 days a few years back. With this new technology, I can keep track of the status of service applications using my phone and see when things are taking too long. Our customer care representatives can even log in from home or from their mobile devices to check the progress of service applications outside of office hours. Now, customers don't even need to visit the business center to apply for service. They can start the process online and track the status of their application on the Meralco website. For relationship managers, CXE can provide a 360-degree view of the customer and their interactions with Meralco. This will help them better understand and help the customer resolve an issue or complete a request. We are very excited about the new features that are being developed now to enhance how we serve our customers. There is so much more to come.
Thanks, guys. Well, that's great to see CXE already improving the customer experience. Ronnie, what's new in networks?
Hi, Gavin, and good day to everyone. We now have a full video wall and state-of-the-art equipment to provide a wide area situational awareness to manage and monitor the network. We can communicate to our crews using our digital TETRA radio network. Last year, EAM went live, and we are working hard to optimize the system and really get the value out of this software. Once we enable mobility, our crews will receive jobs on their tablets and can provide all the data required straight from the field. This will eliminate a lot of paperwork and encoding. ADMS also went live this year. Now, all outage reports flow automatically from our call center to ADMS, where they are consolidated and crews dispatched. We have numerous sensors and remote control switches installed across our network. This helps us identify and fix faults much faster. We're also building more and more smart substations that can be remotely controlled. This really speeds up troubleshooting and power restoration. All of this is part of our plans for a smart grid which will combine advanced metering with distribution automation, plus enable us to better integrate the growing amount of distributed generation from solar, wind, and batteries. We're also looking into the smart street lighting and e-vehicle charging as part of our smart grid. And lastly, we have embarked on a project building 3D models of substations through laser scanning. These models will be useful for the management of our assets. Watch out, there is much more to come.
Indeed there is, Ronnie. Well, thanks for that. Well, I know a lot's been happening in CIT myself this year. Isn't that right, Ernie? Ernie? Hey, Ernie.
Hey, Gavin. We've had a very hectic year. We finally decommissioned our mainframe and have successfully migrated all our legacy applications and data. We are now finishing off the other systems so we can finally close out our old data center. We have successfully rolled out Office 365 to all our staff and managed to do this using internal resources and minimal spend. Most companies spend millions on consultants to help in such a large deployment. There is still a lot to discover in the O365 suite, such as Teams, Flow, Power Apps, and Power BI. With O365, users can access all their mail and documents on any device or through the portal. On the subject of collaboration, Workplace by Facebook has revolutionized the way we communicate and share experiences across the whole of Meralco. People are using WorkChat to quickly communicate with their teams, and we are enabling new features such as artificial intelligence, chatbots, and integration with SharePoint sites. Our telecoms team has been working hard to upgrade our infrastructure, and we have rolled out new tools such as mConnect to allow video conferencing. This has cut down the need to travel and is now being regularly used for meetings across multiple sites. This is what keeps me up at night, cybersecurity. It remains a major concern. Earlier in the year, the WannaCry virus hit globally. We worked day and night to keep Meralco safe, and the investments we made in cybersecurity really paid off. We are now completing the implementation of our VMS, or Vulnerability Management System, and SDM, Security Defense Management System, that will provide extra layers of protection against a growing cybersecurity threat. We've come a long way in modernizing our IT over the past few years, but there's much more to come. Exciting times.
Well, great job, Ernie and the team. Really good. But we know MTECH isn't just about technology, right?
That's absolutely right, Gavin. As we do our technology transformation, our people have to transform as well. As we speak, we are building a culture that will be anchored not only on being digital, but being agile and lean as well. Gone are the days of the dinosaurs. This is now the age of the cheetahs. Fast, nimble, adaptable, and gritty. Digital HR started last year with our cloud-based SAP, performance management, and learning management systems. We have embarked on our Microsoft BI-based HR analytics and are in the final stages of procuring our enterprise contracted management system that will ensure full transparency and effective management of our workforce. But technology isn't enough. Let us not forget the human touch. Meralco people are known for their empathy, compassion, sense of purpose, deep connection, and community spirit. Ang ating pong malasakit at makabayan ang nagdala sa atin para maging #1 top company for job seekers and millennials. So, digital, agile, lean, malasakit, makabayan. This is the Meralco of today and the future. And there really is much more to come.
Well, MTECH 2017 seems to be going well. But everyone keeps saying there's so much more to come. I wonder what else is in store for Meralco and its customers. I tell you what, shall we jump forward to mid-next year and see what's happening? Put that up again.
Today, I am pleased to unveil the new mobile app and customer portal. Customers are now able to get a truly digital experience with Meralco. Let me show you its major features. Customers or accredited Meralco contractors can now apply for a new service through the portal, including submitting electronic versions of their documents. This reduces the required number of visits to our business centers. The service application status can be tracked online and notifications are sent at various stages of the process, which means our customers are updated every step of the way. Customers will also be able to view and pay their bills online, and Meralco will send reminders through the preferred channels when a bill has been raised and when the payment is due. For business users, details of all their services and accounts can be seen on a single screen and downloaded for further analysis. Our customer portal and mobile app will also allow us to better manage customer experience when there is an outage. Customers can report and view outages in their area to an outage map. And we will keep them updated by sending notifications and estimated time of restoration through SMS, email, Facebook Messenger, or push notifications to the mobile app. Now, getting in touch with Meralco is easier than ever. Customers can submit inquiries to our portal or mobile app and access a knowledge base to quickly provide answers to common concerns. If they wish to speak to a customer service agent, they can enter a live chat. Artificial intelligence-powered chatbots will soon be able to provide information such as bill amounts, service status, and payment options through Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, and Viber. We have also launched our new call center system, and we are embarking on an ambitious project to replace our core meter-to-cash customer management system. Pretty soon, we will be rolling out mobility solutions to our field personnel. Customers will be able to choose the most convenient time for us to visit, limiting the time they need to wait at home. When at the site, field personnel can upload photos, record customer signatures, and close field orders without the need for paper forms or encoding back in the office. All these initiatives will truly define a new level of digital customer service.
Yes, finally, CXE is complete. Now our customers can interact with us through the touch of a button. What a great achievement.
Yes, even the traditional business centers are getting high-tech. This one is in a mall, so I can combine shopping with my visit to Meralco. With this new kiosk, I can do most of the transactions without having to wait in a queue, from submitting a new service application, raising an inquiry, or making a payment using my PayMaya account. If I need to talk to an agent, I can use this feature and actually see the person I am talking to. If I raise a question, I can keep track of the status through the website or the kiosk. But I don't really call into the business center that often. I can quickly contact Meralco right here through my mobile phone. I just send them a Facebook message, Viber, WhatsApp, or SMS, and they reply instantly. I can inquire about the status of my service, my outstanding bills, and even get energy efficiency advice, and find out which is the best appliance to buy through Orange Tag. I normally pay online as it's much quicker than going to a payment center. Last week, there was a big storm and we lost power. Before I could call Meralco, I received a Facebook message from them letting me know there was a problem and they are already working on it. They kept me up to date with the status of the restoration and informed me when the crew would arrive. I was even able to log on to my customer portal and view a map of the affected areas to see if my parents were okay. Each month, Meralco reminds me when I have a bill to pay. That's quite handy as I often forget with my busy schedule. I even enrolled for paperless billing so I can access a PDF version of my bill online instead of waiting for the paper version. Plus, I'm doing my part for the environment. Transacting with Meralco has never been so easy.
Fantastic. It's great to see happy customers, isn't it? Well, whilst I'm here, let's go and check in on networks. I'm sure there's some great stuff there as well.
Well, things are really coming together in networks. ADMS is really proving its value now that the distribution management module for fault location, isolation, and service restoration for self-healing networks, as well as Volt VAR optimization, has been rolled out across all sectors. It feeds information to the new outage management system so we can keep customers informed. The masses of data that is coming from our smart grid is proving tremendously useful. We are now able to leverage on smart meter, cloud technology, and data analytics to mine the data and look for patterns and correlations. This enables us to do predictive and preventive maintenance. One good example is our distribution transformers. We are now able to monitor in real time which ones are likely to fail or get overloaded and replace them as part of our routine maintenance before they break down. We are pushing forward with our distribution automation, riding on the same communications platform as our AMI meters. This is proving to be very cost-effective.
That's great, Alan. You've been busy. Ronnie.
Remember the 3D models of substations we developed in 2017, such as these?
Yeah.
We are using this to assist our teams responsible for planning, communicating, and designing upgrades to the substation. We have expanded our Fieldman solution to also enable our field workers in construction, maintenance, STS, and metering security. We still have challenges though. The growing rise of renewables such as solar and battery puts an increasing strain on our network. We are enhancing our systems and developing microgrids and area energy management solutions that can manage solar, wind, and battery and grid power in a more effective way.
Well, that's great, Ronnie. Thanks for the update. But where is everybody around here? It just seems half empty around Meralco these days.
Don't worry, they're still working. But many people now work from home. They use products like Teams, Skype, mConnect, and Workplace to collaborate and virtually meet, instead of having to travel for hours and hours just to get to the office. HR has played a vital role in enabling this work from anywhere model. Our move to the cloud has allowed us to roll out products and services much quicker it also reduced the effort needed in managing IT infrastructure. With the launch of new apps such as the enhanced Me on the Go, SharePoint, and the new workplace features, people don't even need to use their PCs much these days. Every office now has fast Wi-Fi connections through our Internet for Everyone initiative. IT truly has become hassle-free. Artificial intelligence, or AI, is now heavily used in Meralco. We have developed some cool chatbots to help our users with day-to-day tasks like checking their leaves and getting IT support. Our main thrust now is around data and analytics. We have trained hundreds of people in the basics of analytics and developed our own big data environment. We are fast becoming a data-driven organization where decisions are made based on accurate and timely information.
Thanks, Gian, that's great. Well, I've rented this car for the whole day, so maybe we'll just take a final peek a few more years into the future, just for fun. Let me see. I can find it. Okay.
Oh, hi there, Gavin.
Hey, Ian.
Well, here it is. Finally, the Philippines' first innovation and research center dedicated to smart grid technology has opened. And doesn't it look smart? Inside this building, we are experimenting with the latest drone technology that can autonomously fly over our facilities and use advanced image recognition to identify faults without human intervention. We are also testing the latest augmented reality technology, which enables our field crew to see information, receive instructions, and be guided while doing repairs via special glasses that mix the real world with the artificial. Our next generation of employees are also undergoing training on substation maintenance using virtual reality headsets. They can walk around the 3D virtual world without being exposed to any risks.
That's neat, fantastic. What else is new in Meralco, I wonder?
Lots, Gavin. Remember all those new products and services that we mentioned way back in MTECH 2016 when you were just a young fellow? Well, they're now here, and even better than promised. First off, we've installed more than 1 million smart meters and have options for prepaid and postpaid plus. In both cases, customers can access in near real time information on their consumption through either the Meralco app or through the customer portal on their PC. Our vision of a smart home is now a reality, but you don't need a mobile app to manage lights and appliances. Today, 2020, you can just message Meralco through Facebook or Viber, or tell those AI-enabled smart speakers. Customers also now have sensors in their circuit boards so that they can monitor their real-time energy consumption. Meralco knows the consumption of each appliance and compare this versus new ones in the market. You may need to have your AC or ref serviced, or you may opt to buy a new one. We are also leveraging off our RF mesh smart grid communications technology to offer smart city services to LGUs and private developers. This will involve smart parking sensors, smart street lights, environment sensors, and building management systems. Through the Smart City Initiative, Meralco can help reduce energy consumption while also improving the quality of life for those living in our cities. Everything now is for customers, and the power is in their hands.
Finally, let's not forget our 2 new subsidiaries. First, our electric vehicle and charging business. Meralco now manages a network of EV charging stations not only within the franchise but nationwide. These are used by the new e-trikes and e-jeepneys, plus a growing number of electric cars, taxis, and buses. Don't you think the air feels much cleaner already, especially for our kids? Much of the energy to power these vehicles comes from solar, which has really taken off these last few years. Spectrum is installing and managing solar and energy storage solutions for our industrial, commercial, and residential customers across the country. In fact, with many of our customers having batteries installed, we in Meralco can now draw on this power to balance the grid and manage the intermittency caused by solar and wind. And we're not stopping there. We are also about to launch our demand response scheme, where customers are rewarded for allowing Meralco to temporarily switch off certain high power loads to manage demand instead of calling on costly peak generation.
Well, Meralco really took that digital transformation to heart. Well, time is getting on. I better head back to MTECH 2017 before it finishes. We just dial back up 2017.
Let's go, sir. Miss Reyes said you need to be home by 8 p.m.
Just a minute. I feel this has happened before. Well, I'm incredibly proud of how much we all have achieved over the past few years. The effort and the commitment you all have shown in building the Meralco of the future is truly amazing. Definitely, there is much more to come.
It was quite an adventure. We've achieved a lot in a few years, but there's still much more to do. Technology is developing at an ever-increasing pace, and we simply cannot afford to stand still. Over the past year, we've seen rapid developments in solar, battery, and electric vehicle technology with falling production costs and increased capacity. The age of distribution generation is upon us, with new DG capacity projected to exceed new centralized generation capacity as early as next year. Between 2014 to 2023, disrupted generation will displace the need for more than 320 gigawatts of new large-scale power plants globally. I firmly believe that within our lifetime, we will see residential and small commercial customers being able to self-generate and store most of the energy they need, trading surplus power between them. Huge improvements are being made in battery technology. While battery storage still remains relatively expensive, it may already be able to challenge peaker plants on price. Around 9,000 megawatts of new utility-owned storage capacity is to be deployed in the next 2 years. Better batteries are paving the way for widespread electric vehicle adoption. Germany, Netherlands, France, and the UK have announced plans to ban new and petrol and diesel cars by 2040. This surge of EVs will usher in the age of electromobility. EVs offer some great potential for utilities to claw back some of the kilowatt hours lost to distributed generation and energy efficiency. Customers are looking to Meralco to provide the charging infrastructure needed to facilitate EV adoption in the Philippines. It's clear that solar, battery, and EVs will fundamentally change the role of the utility. Last year, we talked about the third IT platform: social, mobile, cloud, and big data. But these four themes are already the norm. We need to look at new and emerging technologies to create future business advantage. Today, a fresh wave of powerful technologies promise or threatens to disrupt us yet again. The rise of the sharing economy has brought around blockchain, and this has the potential to become a general-purpose technology, a breakthrough that changes how society and the economy works. And it's finding its way into the energy sector. 10% of global GDP is likely to be stored on blockchains by 2027, and this technology could cut banking costs by $20 billion a year in 2022. A good use of blockchain technology is already present in South African schools, where energy payments between donors and selected schools are being facilitated using smart meters that are blockchain aware. Let me provide another example of how blockchain, combined with solar and battery, could change the role of the utility. Imagine a community or a city served by a private microgrid. Some residents have solar, some have batteries, some have EVs, and some have nothing. Under the current model, those of excess solar capacity that wish to sell back to their neighbour would have to sell first to the distribution grid, where it will form part of the overall grid supply that feeds their neighbour's property. There's costs at every stage of the process, including banking and distribution fees. Using a blockchain, a customer with excess solar capacity or spare charge on their battery could trade directly with their peers. Instead of transacting with small amounts of money constantly changing hands, they buy and sell virtual energy coins. Depending on their demand and generation capacity, sometimes they spend coins and sometimes they earn them. In this model, no money changes hands, with transactions being securely stored in a blockchain. Fees are only paid when real cash is taken out or put into the system. With this technology, customers can automatically and cheaply trade using peer-to-peer networks. The next technology to watch out for is IoT, or Internet of Things. This isn't new, but it's now maturing. Globally, the number of connected devices will reach around 50.1 billion by 2020. This will include consumer IoT products such as smart appliances, smart plugs, thermostats, smoke detectors, and smart locks and wearables, plus utility devices like smart meters, smart switches, and sensors. Austin, Texas is requiring new homes to be fitted with these smart thermometers so customers can participate in the city's demand management scheme. The challenge, though, is how to correlate all of this data and produce accurate and actionable insights. We will see further investment from companies in big data technology as they attempt to unlock the value of IoT data. IoT will enable the cities of the future. By 2023, 60% of the world's population is expected to live in these mega cities. And by connecting devices, vehicles, and infrastructure, governments and their partners can reduce energy and water consumption, keeping people moving efficiently and improving the safety and quality of life for us and for generations to come. Smart cities are heavily dependent on utilities' involvement, if not their leadership, and this must be a focus for Meralco going forward. Next one is around edge computing. This is set to become the preferred architecture for running data-driven, intelligent applications in the future. And this is where processing power and intelligence is built into the devices at the edge. The autonomous vehicle is a good example to help this concept to life. Sensing, thinking, and acting attributes of edge computing must be done in real time to ensure safe operation for passengers and the public. In utilities, we could see more data processing intelligence being built into edge devices such as smart meters and IoT gateways, with these devices being given autonomy to make decisions. Over the next few years, we will see virtual and augmented reality becoming embedded in our lives. The difference between the real world and the virtual world is becoming closer and closer. And soon it will be impossible to tell what is real and what is virtual. Equipment maintenance and training simulations are some of the opportunities of this technology. At Boeing, factory trainees assembling a mock airplane wing work 30% faster and 90% more accurately using AR automated instructions than trainees that were using instructions in PDF documents. The next emerging technology is robotics. These can be physical, as we saw this morning, or virtual agents that automate, augment, or assist human activity. Robots have been used for many years, as you know, in manufacturing, but now Japan's biggest bank is using now, which we saw earlier, for customer engagement and improving the customer experience. It can interact with customers in their native language, and he speaks 19 different languages. Finally, and perhaps the technology that will make the biggest impact, is artificial intelligence and machine learning. This is where programs are designed to learn, to understand, to reason, to plan, and to act when exposed to new data and situations. Artificial intelligence is already transforming our lives at home and in the work. It's no longer in the future, it's in the present. Artificial intelligence is needed to process and make decisions from the vast quantities of data that's now being produced. AI has powered the evolution of chatbots from a greeting tool to a customer service must-have. And in a few years from now, 85% of all customer interactions could be handled without a human agent. This technology can deliver advanced levels of service whilst delivering as much as 80% cost savings over outsourced call centers powered by humans. Just think of the impact artificial intelligence could have on call center jobs within the country. Meralco is leading the industry in the use of AI in the Philippines, and we are soon to launch AI chatbots to provide this conversational customer service. This chatbot will help our customers be more energy efficient by allowing them to inquire on the cost of running certain appliances and to ask questions on the bill and services without having to get an agent involved. We are also utilizing AI for grid management and analytics. By applying machine learning to wind turbine data, Norway managed to reduce uncertainty in wind power production by as much as 45%. These are all some of the emerging technologies in our horizon. Whilst we are still in the process of embracing the third IT platform, we must also look further ahead and explore these next wave of technologies. Blockchain, Internet of Things, edge computing, virtual augmented reality, robotics, and artificial intelligence. We must push the boundaries further and further. Technology continues to be more and more ingrained in our lives, and this trend will not change. We are servicing the touchscreen generation. They are used to new technology, and they're able to adapt much, much quicker. The next generation of humans will be the first to reach a life expectancy close to 100, and that will force us to flip and redesign how we do things. It will open up many new opportunities, and I believe, or I'd at least like to hope, that new machine-based hyperintelligence will be augmenting and not necessarily replacing our own human intelligence. Our ability to keep up will be what defines us, because, whether we like it or not, speed and agility will become the new norm. Meralco is determined to remain relevant in this ever-changing world, to lead the way by being resilient and continuously adapting to technology and innovation. Our journey clearly continues, the journey to tomorrow.
Thank you, Gavin, for that spectacular journey and powerful vision of tomorrow. It was impressive being transported through time, past and future. The future looks very promising from Meralco for its industry, its people, and its customers. For any questions about Gavin's presentation, please message MTECH at Workplace or text your questions to 0920-919-4068. Again, if you have any questions about Gavin's presentation, please message MTECH at Workplace or text your questions to 0920-919-4068. Thank you. We will begin with our morning panel session. Thank you. In a few minutes, our panel session will start, so please make sure that your questions are sent to our mobile number or your MTECH at Workplace. Thank you. more questions submitted, we will now have our morning panel session. This session will be facilitated by none other than Ralph Menchaves. He is the Meralco's Head of Corporate Strategy. We would like to invite to the stage Perry Stoneman and Paul Martin. Also joining them is another key speaker for this afternoon session, the Director, Chief Technology Officer, and Head of Development Watson IoT Consumer Business of IBM, Mr. Gabby Zodic.
Hi, good morning, everybody. How are you so far? Almost lunch, but I think we have one more panel to go. I'd like to welcome here our panelists. I think we have Mr. Gabby Zodic, who will be speaking this afternoon, and he will join this morning. Also, thank you, Mr. Paul and Mr. Perry, for your very insightful presentation this morning. I guess, I myself, I have a hang-up from the presentation of Gavin this morning. I'd like to get your thoughts on those, on the things that Gavin mentioned this morning. Maybe a few things you want to comment on, expound about.
Okay, is it on? Okay. Just first of all, Gavin and your whole team, congratulations. That was brilliant. Truly impressive, worthy of San Francisco event, without question. I think if Silicon Valley sees this on the internet, you've got a problem keeping them. But no, it was brilliant. I would like to comment on a couple areas, particularly IoT, which is kind of undercovered. IoT, Gavin made a great point. It's mature. It's getting more mature as well. But we have to remember, IoT goes back to the NASA Apollo missions. That was the first IoT device. Then it went into aviation, and then it went into civil aviation. And the aircraft that we fly in today that we trust are not being flown by the pilots, but being flown by IoT. What's happened is it's gotten cheaper. So now you can get devices and sensors and gateways and edge computing out there to many more devices. And I think it's a huge area for Meralco to dream big, because when you start putting those renewable assets into the field and you need to control those things, I think it gets away from you unless you have IoT embedded. So I completely agree. I think you had it on 2020. I hope it's in your program to start thinking hard about it 2018, because it's emerging, maturing very fast.
You can hear me? Okay, great. I also echo what Perry said about Gavin and the team and the preparation and the showmanship in the theater. So congratulations to you all for a wonderful experience this morning. I was also interested in Gavin's, thank you. In Gavin's presentation, a lot around technology, a lot around digital, and some pieces around the digital workplace. I think we had the HR executive talking there. This is often a very understated piece of the transformation. It's also a very untapped knowledge base and transformational base. And I would encourage you, people in HR and people in leadership and talent development, embracing a lot of these technology pieces, especially in artificial intelligence and augmented reality, is a real trailblazer. It's a breakthrough in terms of employee development, both at home and in the workplace, and especially if you're going to working from home or working from anywhere, this is going to be a real arrow in your quiver for productivity and sustainability. Well done.
Sure. So like my colleagues, I fully agree. I was very impressed, Gavin. And I was, in a sense, even surprised to see how aligned and of the directions that you identified or with the things that we are looking at in IBM in research. So I think all of the topics that you touched upon are areas of high interest, and we'll be more than happy to collaborate on all of those. And yes, they are a reality today, and as my colleague said, For instance, IoT, there is already instrumented, the world is already instrumented and connected. And much like you touched upon AI, which really brings a lot of opportunities, and I think there is also a demand for that, because the expectation from the millennials is that these systems that they interact with, no matter how, by voice, touch, or gesture, or any other means, that they bring them some insights, things they cannot conclude on their own. And the reason is that we have so much data around us, whether it is from the sensors around us, wearables we wear, and so on and so forth. But making sense out of all of that data, we need really the power of AI. And that's really where the next challenge is.
Thank you so much for your comments. Our floor is open for questions, but let me take the chance first to ask you a few questions that I've noted as we were watching your presentations a while ago. I think for Mr. Perry, there was a question on community energy, right? Sharing energy, much like Uber, sharing information, and I think it will touch upon a bit on blockchain as well. I guess, would you mind expounding a bit more on that business, as well as how regulators or how even the utilities have faced that certain, I guess, challenge in terms of sharing energy in the community?
Sure. I think community involvement in the future is going to significantly grow. We have to remember, only about 20 years ago, most citizens were energy unaware, particularly around electricity. You knew what you paid for gasoline or diesel. You really didn't understand what you paid for electricity. And that's starting to change now. And so we're getting to a point where citizens want to know where their energy is coming from. They want to know that it's green. And they're starting to prefer that some of this local sourcing that we see in the form of groceries and food also applies to energy. So it's a personal preference or trend that individuals have to understand the energy ecosystem around them. So I don't think regulators can stop that type of phenomenon from happening in the world. But I do think the utility can demonstrate that they are the right partner to participate, design those communities, and own that relationship and own those assets. So my guidance is, if communities build their own, it'll probably fail in 10 years, you'll get them back. But it's better to be there in the first place instead of wait for them to realize that they should have had the utility as a partner in the first place.
Related to digital HR, right? I think there's a big point about AI, becoming the future. Develop more chatbots, develop more artificial intelligence applications out there. And you have a point a while ago about as we actually take out jobs, we also come up with new jobs. Can you elaborate further on that one?
Yes, I think as Gavin had indicated, there's tremendous opportunities in the customer service space where that initial conversation with a call center agent can be automated. Getting away from IVRs and having to press 1s and 9s and 8s, the ability to be able to quickly arbitrage the nature of the question, the ability also to take some priority calls on the value of that call to the customer and the urgency, those things can be worked on the fly with artificial intelligence chatbots. And I mentioned before around using platforms to get to that stage. Facebook Messenger is heavily going into that area, as well as other niche players. And it's not only to reduce costs. If you imagine in most airports now, when you go through passport control, there's a little box that says, was it a smiley experience or was it an upside down experience? So throughput at passport control, or throughput from Manila to Singapore on a plane, or throughput from New York Central Station to Toronto is not the primary measure now that consumers worry about. What they worry about is the experience and how to get delivered from one location to another. And by using, for example, AI and chatbots, that experience can be enhanced in real time. And I think that's a really big opportunity for many, many industries to recognize that potential. That creates jobs, that creates better experiences, and it also then creates a lot of loyalty to the brand or the product or the service you're involved with.
Thank you. I guess question for you and Gabby. There's a question about AIs reaching the Turing test, passing the Turing test. And I guess nobody has answered it yet, or maybe our scientists have some point about it. Would you mind, sharing your thought about that?
So I think, like Gavin said, and we all agree, I think AI is not here to replace people. Yes, it may replace in certain cases a job of somebody, but the main point is really augmenting people to do their work much better. It has the power in many cases to analyze huge amount of data. For instance, Watson for Oncology that we've been developing for multiple years now, it's certainly not currently replacing the oncologist itself. But oncologists cannot track the numerous numbers of researchers being published every day. It's in the thousands, right? Nor can he take into account so many parameters and characteristics of the patient that's in front of him. He can take a certain amount of them. But really to make sense from the ongoing data that's evolving, the data about the patient, and multiple other factors, that's where the place of AI can come in play and give a guidance and really provide additional insights of what may be the best and more personalized treatment to that person is. So AI is really coming here to augment what we already know how to do. And if you look at that, there are very certain things that AI is very powerful at, but there are also other things that people are very strong at. It's always be that these things can complement each other.
I guess a follow-up question on that one. If you were, basically you're advocating for AI, right? But the adverse question to that is, what are the limitations of AI?
I'll go. So if we go back to Gavin's example, AI is very good at what we call natural language processing. It can understand a series of words and the implication of those words. Where it's not yet perfected is in natural language understanding. If I say to you, hey, I'm bad. Now, if you run NLP on that, I'm bad means I'm bad. But natural language understanding means I'm actually cool. Because with the way I say it and the body language and the gestures actually means bad means cool. And AI cannot yet differentiate when you take that conversation to the next level. It will interpret, hey, I'm bad as, hey, I'm bad. So these are the things to watch out for when you think about artificial intelligence. Yes, it can understand a string of words like we were taught when we were 3 or 4 or 5. But when you become an adult or a hipster, like us, and you change the vernacular around, AI still isn't able to bridge that gap. And that, that's one example I use that I hope illustrates the point quite clearly.
Gabby, you have some comments on that?
Yeah, I completely agree. There are many examples of unstructured data. So text is certainly one of those. There always remains a lot of ambiguity. Image and video, as an example, is another case where people today, when you look at the picture, you in a second identify, analyze it, and you see exactly and can explain what you see. It's still far away to do that with AI today, to take a video and summarize it for you or point out a certain scene where you see a particular thing that you are looking for, to do search in a video, things like that. So there is much more research to be done there.
Paul, you have some comments?
Nothing to add, but I don't think anybody would mistake me for a hipster.
Very related question also, and I got it from, I was checking my phone for the MTech questions. One question that was being asked is about privacy of information, right? So basically AIs, you upload all the information to the cloud. How do you handle privacy of information, especially if you also work with different locations, geographies, as well as offices?
Sure, I can go first. So first of all, there is much more regulation around that. In Europe, they are leading with standards like GDPR, which you'll see come into play as of May 2018, in which each and every time when we deploy an application to any user, we need to explain exactly what data we take from him, how we are going to use it, in plain language, simple language, and he has all the ability to control that and change his mind. If he's willing to share that data for a certain purpose, he can stop to do that. He can at any point in time see exactly what data he has shared with any, and so on and so forth. So we'll give much more control to the end user. It won't be some small license agreement that's hidden somewhere that nobody understands in terms that are complicated. I think further down, you'll see that we'll have to provide a lot of value to users. So much like today, everyone uses credit cards because it's very convenient, right? But we give out quite a lot of data while using that. So I think in a similar way, with any system we use, that's somewhere the balance we need to seek, to find the value that we can bring. And then people are willing to share data. But again, you'll see later on, I'll talk about an employee safety scenario that we've implemented. We can do a lot of compute, as Gavin said, on the edge. No reason for me to send the heart rate or heart rate variability or any other measurement that I do on an employee back to the cloud. I don't really need that raw data. I may just need the insight if something is, if there's an anomaly at a certain point in time.
To build on it, I think the GDPR and the privacy rights is going to change corporations. There's a lot of liability associated with getting it wrong if you're a major corporation. I can tell you right now, the boards of directors and CXOs of these companies that are looking to implement it are taking it extremely seriously. So I think there's been a bit of a casual approach to privacy and data, a little too much in the past, and I think it's going to change.
Agree with my colleagues here. We've seen a lot of news releases in the last couple of months about breaches of financial information and personal records. AI, supervised learning, depends on the ability to get at those data sets. So it's a trade-off. How much information do we allow for structured learning versus the privacy rights of individuals? And I don't think anyone has the answer yet.
Related to digital strategy, there's always a question for, from a regulated standpoint, right? I think I'm not sure if you've worked with as many utilities from your places, but question always is, when's the payback? Usually you invest a lot on this, heavy in CapEx, heavy in operational expenses, but how do utilities see this and how do they actually look at the payback?
One of the areas that Gartner was involved in with industries like Meralco, where it is a heavy CapEx industry, is not to price based on equipment acquisition costs, but to price based on minutes of uptime or delivered service. So Gartner recommends looking at different pricing models and different consumption models for these heavy asset-heavy industries like Meralco, whereby then the citizens can determine what they're willing to pay for a certain level of consumption. It's not yet defined very well. Computers can model it, but it hasn't really been explored to the point where it's commercial yet. It's one of those sort of pilot areas that the Gartner is tracking closely. We don't have the answer, but we're tracking it.
So the way I like to think about it, and this digital transformation started in my mind a decade ago with smartphones, later on with wearables, IoT now, and so on. And I think what it really forces companies in each and every industry to rethink their business processes, whether it is internally to the employees or to the customers they serve. And when you think about this just as a technology to enable to continue to do the existing business, I think it's the wrong way to think about it. And then it is more of a cost. I think when you think about the new opportunities, for instance, the fact that you have a smartphone in the pocket that's 24 hours a day with you, it has a lot of context, a lot of knowledge about your customers. If you're not taking any advantage of those additional capabilities and knowledge, you're not really transforming the business. So we talk a lot about Uber and Get Taxi in Israel and many other similar companies. They dramatically changed the taxi industry from the way it used to be. Now again, in similar ways, insurance, if you look at it, is changing completely. Healthcare, we do much more remote and so on. So each and every industry is going through significant fundamental changes, and the business models will be completely different. So it's not an issue of cost, it's an issue of if you're not taking advantage of these capabilities, you'll not survive.
I think finally the regulators need a lot of education. They're used to applying the old rules, And the rules are changing. Digital changes the rules. So one of the areas we spend a lot of time on is helping our customers convince the regulator that they have to change their thinking.
Interesting points. I want to move a bit to another topic. I think Mr. Perry this morning mentioned something about EVs, electric vehicles. We see a lot of we see the solar PV prices go down, right? And it's because of emerging technologies. Technologies are getting more efficient and cheaper. However, electric vehicles are not yet in that space. Any thoughts on how these electric vehicles will come at par with in terms of pricing with diesel-powered vehicles?
Well, the battery price is declining. Scale, as you manufacture more of those cars, will get cheaper. So those are just two. The component parts will get cheaper, and volumes and scale and gigafactories or automotive plants will change the pricing. I think the bigger trick is when the automakers all realize, and they're getting to that point, that they have to have a fleet of EV, or else they're going to be missing a huge segment of the population. We're going to see them make the moves to get very competitive about those products. They've all been high-end to date, and they don't have to be all high-end vehicle. But I think the bigger question is not just EVs, it's the electrification of transportation. That's what's coming. We're going to see buses. We're going to see every part of fleets. We're going to see shared vehicles. The millennials or the next generation don't really care about owning a car. So who will own those cars? Who will own those fleets? And then it doesn't really matter on the price point. If you can get a vehicle that doesn't sit around for 12 hours a day, and you can get that vehicle shared by 4 or 5 people, the cost is almost irrelevant.
Any other questions from the crowd? No questions so far. I guess another point that was being asked this morning was, in terms of being more consumer-centric, right? There's, of course, AIs are being put in place of frontliners, right? And so there's a question, I just remember there's a question in MTECH in the chat that question that asks about how will we actually bring AI to show empathy to our callers? I mean, if we say that call center agents will be replaced by AI, however, in terms of the country being more empathic, the Filipinos being more empathic, hospitable, how do we actually move towards the kind of digital, I guess, will that digital phenomenon happen? Being empathic, having empathic AI or chatbots?
I'm not a total expert on the subject. I think my 2 colleagues are closer, but it's my understanding that we can understand the sentiment now.
Yeah, we should start to do that and be more. I think that really the goal is, and what people expect, is to have a personalized experience, right? Something that over time learns about them, understands their behavior, understands their preferences. So it doesn't matter if it is a call center or if it is a conversational application on my cell phone or something in my car. But overall, my expectation is that it will have the ability to know me and also interact with me when it needs to interact. It will have to be much more proactive in nature rather than me just going after and asking a question and hopefully get the correct answer. My expectation would be that it would continuously monitor all of the things that I care about throughout my day and just pop up and start conversating with me whenever it's appropriate for achieving my next goal, whether it is just arriving on time to my next meeting or just setting up my office room the way I like it, or the car, or the hotel, or wherever I am. So it's this personalization and ability to be much more proactive and insightful to bring up those things so that it will really make my life easier.
An interesting point we did at Gartner in our office was a bit of a hackathon. We were trying to model digital empathy. So one of our teams was using voice analytics, one of the most expensive high-powered voice analytics algorithms. And the other team used emojis. You've all seen the Emoji Movie? Yeah? So the voice analytics team, they used getting a baseline of my voice, and then they would be able to detect in my voice if I was getting stressed or angry or comfortable or happy, etc. And the other team was working just on emojis, i.e. my doodles. And the team that focused on emojis was much more accurate than the team that was working on voice analytics, which was quite enlightening to us being a technology company. And where we tried to rationalize that was emojis, or the way we express ourselves in written form, is very, very powerful to understand. And if you can take that form as structured learning into these algorithms, that's much more informative and accurate than looking at voice analytics or eyebrow twitches or facial recognition. So that was an interesting part for us, which astounded some of our data scientists to the end of the earth.
Thank you for those answers. Any other questions? Want to check the crowd? I guess everybody's ready for lunch. So I guess just one last question to you. Pretty much, I guess, everybody here is asking in terms of how do we really start, right? I think we've started pretty much in terms of becoming more digital, pushing the boundaries. But I think in terms of bringing data into play, what's your perspective on that one? How do we actually utilize our data? Where do we start? And in terms of what you've seen in companies that you've worked with, how do they get started with using data?
I'll start with an example. A particular water company in the United Kingdom was losing a quarter of the water it purified and pumped. It was being lost. It took them an average of 5 days to find that leak after it occurred. And they came to us and said, how do you fix that? And we first said smart metering and IoT infrastructure. And they said, yeah, we get that, but that's going to take a long time. It would be costly. So we said, give us the data you have today and we'll analyze it. And through machine learning and analytics, we found that pressure and flow gave an indication that a leak was going to occur 82% of the time, 21 days in advance. Total game changer. So there's a lot of value in what you already have. You need to continue the digital journey that you've been set on, but it doesn't mean that you can't take some of the data that you already have, look backwards, and find some real value in it.
Maybe I've got a similar idea to that. Try it. Try doing a machine learning project for yourself. There's a website, www.udacity.com. You can log on for free, and you can actually run your own little machine learning project, whether it's how to bake a cake, or whether it's how to anticipate what your wife's going to say to you next, or something else. Try it. The objective is to see what an algorithm looks like and how it behaves and how you can influence that behavior. Once you've done that, you'll get a better understanding of how artificial intelligence and machine learning works. And it's quite straightforward and simple. It's fun.
Yeah, no, I think all good examples, and again, there are across all of the industries. So we, as I said earlier, data, we have a lot of data already because the world is instrumented. I think part of the challenges is to find good data scientists. Because, yes, you can apply various machine learning techniques, and we do that, but it's not so easy to do that. It's a challenge to tune those algorithms to the particular insights they're looking for, and finding out from huge amounts of data which are those elements that really impact or your best predictors to the outcome that you're looking for. So I think it's still something that's in between science, but it's certainly something I encourage to start experimenting. I think the other challenge to overcome is, and we've mentioned that earlier, is that not oftentimes we have those huge amounts of data. In some scenarios and industries, just have limited amount of data. It doesn't mean that we cannot do a machine learning in those cases. We can, but we have to use some different techniques to overcome the fact that we are just training it on a limited amount of data. And the nice thing about machine learning is that it can continuously improve. So if you deploy a solution, I'll speak about one example later on this afternoon, and when you gather data, you continuously learn and improve. So that's the other aspect of it.
Okay, I think that concludes our panel discussion. I want to thank our speakers for answering our questions this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, panel members, for your knowledge and insightful responses. We would like to thank everyone for sending your questions and taking advantage of this opportunity to learn from our experts. May we request our speakers to please stay on stage as Ralph presents our token of appreciation.
We also like to call on Mr. Gavin, RBS, and Sir Ronnie to come up the stage.
Thank you, panelists. We really value the information that you have shared with us this morning. Just a gentle reminder, one of our morning panelists will still have his afternoon presentation later on trend and future directions on cognitive IoT. That concludes this morning's session, and we will now be having our lunch break. We would like to ask everyone to proceed to the volleyball court for our buffet. Please help yourself with our delicious selection and bring your food back in this hall. We would also like to invite our speakers and G1 heads to please proceed to the VIP lounge. The program will resume at 1:15 p.m. Thank you.
I want you to breathe in. Let me be your air. Let me roam your body free. No inhibition, no fear.